Hari Om, Hari Om. Namaste to all. Prostrating at the lotus feet of Brahmanishta Shrotriya Sadguru, Swami Virajeshwara Saraswati, and the entire Guru Parampara on behalf of all of us. Today's discourse on Viveka Chudamani of Acharya Shankara Bhagavatpada will continue. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Mahasaraswatyai Namaha, Sadashiva Samarambham, Shri Shankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmadacharya Pariyantam, Vande Guru Paramparam, Shruti Smruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam, Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Loka Shankaram, Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam, Sutra Bhashyakrito Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmiham. Om Namo Bhagavate Virajeshwaraya. Hari Om. Last time, up to shloka number 541 was covered in Viveka Chudamani. We have come to the final stages of the most interesting, most important, most sacred, most valued, the Upadesha of the Acharya to the disciple, who himself has become a realized master by the grace of the Sadguru. So, Acharya is continuing his exposition on the nature of the Jivan Mukta, the realized, enlightened, exalted soul, how a Jivan Mukta, a Brahmajnani, lives and behaves in this world. So he continues, Acharya continues. Nirdhanopi sada tushtaha apyasahayo mahabalaha nityatruptopi abunjanaha apyasamaha samadarshanaha nirdhanopi sada tushtaha apyasahayo mahabalaha. This is split correctly. It is like this. Nirdhanopi sada tushtaha api asahayo mahabalaha nityatruptopi abunjanopi asamaha samadarshanaha. How a jnani remains in this world of duality as a samadarshi, as a tattvadarshi. His nature is being explained by Acharya himself. A jnani is nirdhanopi sada tushtaha, nirdhanaha api sada tushtaha, asahayo api mahabalaha, abhunjano api nityatruptaha, samadarshanaha api asamaha. So these are the virtues, the nature, how the jnani behaves in the world. ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನಿಯು ಹೇಗಿರ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂತ ಈ ಶ್ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಬಿಡಿಸಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆತ ನಿರ್ಧನನಾಗಿದ್ದರೂ ಸಹ, ಹಣವಂತನಲ್ಲದಿದ್ರೂ ಸಹ, ಧನರಹಿತನಾಗಿದ್ರೂ ಸಹ ಸದಾ ಸಂತುಷ್ಟನಾಗಿರ್ತಾನಲ್ಲ. ನೋಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆತ ಅಸಹಾಯಕನಾಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸಿದ್ರೂ ಸಹ ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಆತ ಮಹಾಬಲಶಾಲಿಯಾಗಿರ್ತಾನಲ್ಲ. ನೋಡುವವರ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಆತ ವಿಷಯ ಸುಖಗಳನ್ನ, ಸಂಸಾರಿಕ ಪ್ರಾಪಂಚಿಕ ಸುಖ ಭೋಗಗಳನ್ನ ಅನುಭವಿಸದೇ ಇದ್ರೂ ಸಹ ನಿತ್ಯ ತೃಪ್ತನಾಗಿರ್ತಾನಲ್ಲ. ಆತ ಅಸದೃಶನಾಗಿದ್ದು ಸದಾ ಕಾಲ ಸಮದೃಷ್ಟಿ ಉಳ್ಳವನಾಗಿರ್ತಾನೆ ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ even though the Brahmajnani the knower of the truth, the Brahmavid, is devoid of any wealth, money, fame, health, power, position, whatever you call it. Even though he is devoid of all these things, he always appears to be totally content. Nirdhana api sada tushtaha. He appears always totally content, totally blissful, totally ever smiling, totally unaffected by his financial status whatsoever in the life. Always he is content. Even though he may appear to be helpless, physically frail person, totally, but still he is strong enough because he has reached the supreme height of the super consciousness. He has become Atma Swarupa himself. So even though he appears to be helpless, he is very strong. Abunjanaha api nitya truptaha. Even though he doesn't enjoy the sensuous pleasures of the world, he doesn't possess, he doesn't bother, he is not interested in all these pleasures and enjoyment and joys of the world, but he is always ever satisfied, nitya truptaha, ever satisfied, because he has seeped himself in the everlasting, that ocean of bliss himself. He has become the ocean of bliss itself. He has experienced and experiencing the Brahmananda. So he has become Nitya Trupta, ever satisfied. Samaha Samadarshina, Samadarshina. And always he behaves and moves in the world with an equal eye to anything visible in this manifested creation. He doesn't distinguish. There is no duality as far as he is concerned. Everything he looks upon as himself. That is what is called Sarvatma Bhava. He sees the self in every living creature, and he knows that the outer nature of the form and the name, the variety of the organism, living organism may be different. Accordingly, they may behave different. But the core content is the self. His own self is pervading everywhere, all the time. So he has got the seeing with an equal eye. Seeing with an equal eye. Asamaha api samadarshana. You please recollect the famous shloka of the Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Arjuna, Krishna Paramatma tells Arjuna, remember that. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Kavihastini Shunashaiva Shapakecha Pandita Samadarshina. Pandita, there, Lord uses the word for a Brahmajnani. Samadarshina. Panditaha Samadarshina, he says. The knower of the truth always is a Samadarshina. Whether he looks upon a cow or an elephant, or a learned man, or a Dvija, higher upper caste person, or a lower caste person, even whether a Chandala, whoever it is, he is least affected by the outer veneer of the people, because he is always a Samadarshi, Sarvatma Bhava inside. That is what the Acharya is talking here about the Jivan Mukta, about the Atmajnani. Then he continues again. Api kurvan na akurvanascha abhokta alabhogyapi shariri api ashariri esha parichinnopi sarvagaha. Api kurvan akurvanascha abhokta alabhogyapi shariri api ಅಶರೀರಿ ಏಷ ಪರಿಚ್ಛಿನ್ನೋಪಿ ಸರ್ವಗಃ. ಜ್ಞಾನಿ ಹೇಗೆ ವ್ಯವಹಾರ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ? ಕುರ್ವನ್ ಅಪಿ ಅಕುರ್ವಾಣ. ಆತ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಕರ್ಮಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಬೇರೆಯವರ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಜ್ಞಾನಿಯು ಸಂಸಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಗ್ನನಾಗಿ ಕರ್ಮಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೂ ಸಹ ಆತ ಕರ್ಮಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಕರ್ಮಫಲಗಳನ್ನ ಆತ ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ ಅಂತ ತೋರಿದ್ರೂ ಸಹ ಆತ ಕರ್ಮಫಲವನ್ನು ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆತ ಶರೀರದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ಶರೀರ ಉಳ್ಳವನಾಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಅಂತ ನಮಗೆ ತೋರಿದರೂ ಸಹ ಆತನಿಗೆ ಶರೀರವಿಲ್ಲ. ಆತ ಪರಿಚ್ಛಿನ್ನನಾಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸಿದ್ರೂ ಸಹ ಆತ ಸರ್ವವ್ಯಾಪಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಈ ಶ್ಲೋಕದ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಜ್ಞಾನಿ ಹೇಗಿರ್ತಾನೆ? ಹೌ ಎ ಜ್ಞಾನಿ ಲಿವ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಬಿಹೇವ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್. ಕುರ್ವನ್ ಅಪಿ ಅಕುರ್ವಾಣಃ ಅಭೋಕ್ತ ಅಪಿ ಅಲಭೋಗ್ಯಃ ಶರೀರ ಅಪಿ ಅಶರೀರಿ ಪರಿಚ್ಛಿನ್ನ ಅಪಿ ಸರ್ವಗಃ. A ಜ್ಞಾನಿ, a ಜೀವನ್ ಮುಕ್ತ, an ಆತ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನ ಸಂಪನ್ನ, even though appears to be active, he is very active, doing all sorts of karmas in the world, in the seemingly relatively apparently world which appears to be real, so others are watching. Jnani is also doing all the karmas, but he is not doing anything. Even though he is doing karma, he is not doing any karma. Even though he appears to be experiencing his karma phala, the results of all the actions he is performing, still he is not experiencing any fruits of his own actions. He appears to be experiencing the fruits of his own action, but yet he is not at all experienced. Even though he is limited to a body, as we observe, Jnani moving and sitting, talking, doing all sorts of work, even though he appears to be in the body form, he is not limited to the body at all. He is no way connected with the body anymore. He doesn't identify himself with his own body. For others, he looks that he is limited to the body. Aparichanna api sarvagaha. Shariri api ashariri. Because he doesn't identify with the body. Even though he is acting, he is not identifying himself as the doer of the karma. He is not identifying himself with the actions. Hence, consequentially, he is not identifying with the karma phala. He has not identified with his own body anymore. So, he appears to be limited to the body, but he is already liberated while still living in the body. That's why he is called Jivan Mukta. He is Sarvavya. He has already, his vision has totally, it has widely, it has entered into a highest dimension of Turiya state, Sarvavyapakatva, Sarvatma Bhavatva. So these are the things. So even though he is limited, he appears to be limited to the body, he is everywhere. He will see himself, his own self everywhere, projecting and manifesting in different names and forms of the creation, manifested world. Ashariram sada santam imam brahma vidam kvachit priya priyena sprushataha tathaiva cha shubha shubhe. Ashariram sada santam imam brahma vidam kvachit priya priyena sprushata tathaiva cha shubha shubhe. ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿ ಶರೀರಾಭಿಮಾನ ಇಲ್ಲದೇ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಈ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನಿಗೆ ತಾನು ಶರೀರ ಎಂಬ ಅಭಿಮಾನವನ್ನೇ ಬಿಟ್ಟಂತಹ ಅಹಂಕಾರವನ್ನ ನಾಶಗೊಳಿಸಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನಿಗೆ ಸುಖ ದುಃಖ ಆಗ್ಲಿ ಪಾಪ ಪುಣ್ಯ ಆಗ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ? ಸುಖ ದುಃಖ ಅಥವಾ ಪಾಪ ಪುಣ್ಯಗಳು ಆತನನ್ನು ಎಂದೂ ಸೋಂಕುವುದಿಲ್ಲ, ಆತನ ಬಳಿ ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಜ್ಞಾನಿಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸುಖ ದುಃಖದ ಅನುಭವ ಆಗೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೊರತಾಗಿದ್ದ ಪಾಪ ಪುಣ್ಯಗಳ ಲೇಪನ ಜ್ಞಾನಿಗಾಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆತ ಕರ್ಮಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೂ ಸಹ ಆತನಿಗೆ ಆ ಕರ್ಮದ ಫಲವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಪುಣ್ಯ ಸಂಚಯನ ಆಗ್ಲಿ ಪಾಪ ಸಂಚಯನ ಆಗ್ಲಿ ಜ್ಞಾನಿಗೆ ಆಗೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಎಲ್ಲಕ್ಕೂ ಮೀಲ ಹೊರತಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಶರೀರಾಭಿಮಾನವೇ ಇಲ್ವಲ್ಲ. ಅಶರೀರಂ ಸದಾ ಸಂತಂ ಇಮಂ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮವಿದಂ ಕುಚ. So what he says, Acharya here, for a realized, exalted personality who has lost the body consciousness, who remains totally unattached to the body, the physical body, Sthula Sharira, or even subtle body, Linga Sharira, or even Karana Sharira, causal body. So he has detached himself from all the three types of the body and the mind and the ego. The ego is lost. So for such a Brahmajnani who is devoid of body consciousness, in other words, neither the pleasant or unpleasant things affect him, neither the good or evil things will affect him. How can they affect him? They can never affect him at all. That is the point here. Acharya is telling his disciple. Next, 4 charana shloka, long one. Further, the same point, he further explains, Acharya explains little in detail. ಮುಂದಿನ ಶ್ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೇ ವಿವರಣೆಯನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸ್ಫುಟವಾಗಿ ವಿಶದವಾಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು. ಏನು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಸ್ಥೂಲಾದಿ ಸಂಬಂಧವತೋ ಅಭಿಮಾನಿನಃ ಸುಖಂ ಚ ದುಃಖಂ ಚ ಶುಭಾಶುಭೇ ಚ ವಿಧ್ವಸ್ತ ಬಂಧಸ್ಯ ಸದಾತ್ಮನೋ ಮುನೇಃ ಕುತಃ ಶುಭಂ ವಾ ಅಪಿ ಅಶುಭಂ ಫಲಂ ವಾ. ಸ್ಥೂಲಾದಿ ಸಂಬಂಧವತೋ ಅಭಿಮಾನಿನಃ ಸುಖಂ ಚ ದುಃಖಂ ಚ ಶುಭಾಶುಭೇ ಚ ವಿಧ್ವಸ್ತ ಬಂಧಸ್ಯ ಸದಾತ್ಮನೋ ಮುನೇಃ ಕುತಃ ಶುಭಂ ವಾ ಅಪಿ ಅಶುಭಂ ಫಲಂ ವಾ. ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಇಂಥವನು ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಶರೀರಾಭಿಮಾನ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ನಮ್ಮಂತಹ ಜ್ಞಾನಿಗಳು, ಈ ದೇಹದೊಂದಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಬಂಧವನ್ನು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವರು, ನಾನು ಇಂಥವನು ಇಂಥವಳು ಇನ್ನು ಸದಾ ಅಭಿಮಾನ ಅಹಂಕಾರ ಈ ದೇಹದ ಮೇಲೆ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, ನಾನು ಈ ಶರೀರ ಅನ್ನೋ ಅಭಿಮಾನ ಸದಾ ಜಾಗೃತವಾಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಜನಗಳಿಗೆ, ಅಜ್ಞಾನಿಗಳಿಗೆ, ನಮ್ಮಂಥವರಿಗೆ ಕಾಲ ಕಾಲಕ್ಕೆ ತಕ್ಕ ಹಾಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕರ್ಮಗಳ ದೆಸೆಯಿಂದ ಸುಖ ದುಃಖಗಳ ಅನುಭವ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಶುಭ ಅಶುಭ ಫಲಗಳ ಅನುಭವ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಶರೀರಾಭಿಮಾನ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿಲ್ವಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಮಗೆ ಆಗಾಗ್ಗೆ ನೋವು, ನಲಿವು, ಸಂಕಟ, ಯಾತನೆ, ಶುಭ ಫಲ ಅಶುಭ ಫಲ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಕಾಲ ಕಾಲಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಾರಬ್ಧ ಕರ್ಮಗತಿಗೆ ಅನುಸಾರವಾಗಿ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಈ ಇಹ ಬಂಧನವನ್ನ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ಕತ್ತರಿಸಿಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ, ಸಂಸಾರ ಬಂಧನದಿಂದ ದೂರ ಮುಕ್ತನಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ, ಶರೀರ ಅಭಿಮಾನದಿಂದ ಮುಕ್ತನಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ, ಆತ್ಮ ಸಾಕ್ಷಾತ್ಕಾರವನ್ನ ಹೊಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಪರಮಜ್ಞಾನಿಗೆ, ಅಂತಹ ಸಚ್ಚಿದಾನಂದ ಸ್ವರೂಪನಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನಿಗೆ ಶುಭ ಅನ್ನೋದಾಗ್ಲಿ ಅಶುಭ ಫಲ ಅನ್ನೋದಾಗ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬರುತ್ತೆ? ಸಾಧ್ಯವೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅಂತಹ ಜ್ಞಾನಿಗೆ ಶುಭಾಶುಭ ಫಲಗಳು ಎಂದೂ ಮುಟ್ಟೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸುಖ ದುಃಖಗಳು ಅಂತಹ ಜ್ಞಾನಿಯನ್ನ ಎಂದೂ ಬಾಧಿಸೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸುಖ ದುಃಖಗಳ ಬಾಧೆ ನಮ್ಮಂತ ಅಜ್ಞಾನಿಗಳಿಗೆ. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಶರೀರ ಅಭಿಮಾನ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇವಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಇಂಥವನು, ನಾನು ಇಂಥವಳು, ನಾನು ಇದು, ನಾನು ಅದು. ನಮ್ಮಂಥವರಿಗೆ, ಅಜ್ಞಾನಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿಯ ಫಲಗಳ ಅನುಭವ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಜ್ಞಾನಿಯು ಆ ಜ್ಞಾನಾವಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ದಾಟಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, ಮುಕ್ತನಾಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, ಶರೀರ ಅಭಿಮಾನ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಆತನಿಗೆ ಶುಭ ಫಲ ಅಶುಭ ಫಲ, ಸುಖ ದುಃಖ, ನೋವು ನಲಿವು ಇವುಗಳ ಅನುಭವ ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆತ ಆತ್ಮಸ್ವರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ವರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಷ್ಠನಾಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಆತ್ಮನಿಗೆ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂಟೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಪ್ರತ್ಯೇಗಾತ್ಮನಿಗೆ ಯಾವ ಅನುಭವವೂ ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಎಲ್ಲಕ್ಕೂ ಆತ ಸಾಕ್ಷಿಯಾಗಿರ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂತ ಈ ಶ್ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಶ್ಲೋಕ ಸ್ಥೂಲಾದಿ ಸಂಬಂಧವತೋ ಅಭಿಮಾನಿನಃ ಸುಖಂ ಚ ದುಃಖಂ ಚ ಶುಭಾಶುಭೇ ಚ. The pairs of opposites in our life, in our daily routine worldly life, this samsa called our life from birth to death. What is that? Every one of us we experience sukha and dukkha. We experience a joy and sorrow at different times, depending on the circumstances, as a result of the actions of our own karmas done in the previous births. In this birth, we are subjected to certain moments of joy, happiness, and also subjected to moments of sorrow, grief, all of a sudden, crisis. And we are subjected to good and bad effects in our life. Sometimes good things will happen according to our calculations. Sometimes bad things will happen. In spite of we expecting good results, sometimes some bad result may happen in our life. Every one of us, we have experienced. Sometimes we experience pleasure in life when things are moving in the expected way. When money flow is very high, when there is a fine status in life, when the health is up at the superior level, everything is happening according to our will and wish. So we experience pleasure. Sometimes we experience pain, unexpected, due to our own prarabdha karma. It's all happening because we are connected with the body-mind complex. We are associated with our own body-mind complex. That is called Sharira Abhiman. Since from birth to death, we are associating ourselves. This body-mind complex, that itself is me. I am identifying myself as a body-mind complex. All these feelings we are experiencing. I am experiencing in our day-to-day. But to a Brahmajnani, to a Jivan Mukta, a liberated soul, what has happened? He has broken the bonds of the Maya. That Sharir Abhimana is lost. He never remembers anymore that he is that body-mind complex. He has a status and a name in life. He is so and so. So that identification with the body status no more, because he has cut the snares of the Maya. He has released himself from the bondage by the grace of the Guru and personal sadhana, perseverance, Shraddha and Bhakti and devotion. So by the grace of the God or by the grace of his Sadguru, he has crossed over this limits of Maya. So no more he has identified himself with the body-mind complex. That ego is lost. Manonasha has occurred. So then for him, how these fruits of the actions, good or bad, will affect him. So at the highest level of that jnana bhumika, that plane of consciousness, a jnani will never suffer. His mind is purest of the pure. It has already reached a Shuddha Sattva state, beyond Sattva Guna. He has crossed over even the Sattva Guna. He has stabilized himself in the Shuddha Sattva. Mind has become so pure like a prism. So there are no impurities in the mind. He is remaining only as a witness. So he himself will not experience all these things as what we experience. Pain and pleasure, good and bad, joy and sorrow, all these, the worldly emotions, the mental modifications, mental afflictions, mental emotions, the stressful factors of the mind, they're all, they influence our mind. In the case of a jnani, this will never happen anymore because he has already realized. He has liberated himself from the bondage. The Maya no more affects him at all. That is the point Acharya says here. Next, to make it clear, he gives one example. ಮುಂದಿನ ಶ್ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಒಂದು ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಕೊಡಿ. ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಆಚಾರ್ಯ ಶಂಕರರು, ಭಗವತ್ಪಾದರು ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಕಡೆ ಈ ಉದಾಹರಣೆಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ವಿವೇಕ ಚೂಡಾಮಣಿಯಲ್ಲೂ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಇತರೆ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲೂ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದೇ ಒಂದು ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಮುಂದಿನ ಶ್ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ. ತಮಸಾಗ್ರಸ್ತವದ್ಭಾನಾತ್ ಅಗ್ರಸ್ತೋಪಿ ರವಿರ್ಜನೈಃ ಗ್ರಸ್ತ ಇತ್ಯುಚ್ಯತೆ ಭ್ರಾಂತ್ಯ ಅಜ್ಞಾತ್ವಾ ವಸ್ತು ಲಕ್ಷಣಂ. ತಮಸಾಗ್ರಸ್ತವದ್ಭಾನಾತ್ ಅಗ್ರಸ್ತೋಪಿ ರವಿರ್ಜನೇ ಗ್ರಸ್ತ ಇತ್ಯುಚ್ಯತೆ ಭ್ರಾಂತ್ಯ ಅಜ್ಞಾತ್ವಾ ವಸ್ತು ಲಕ್ಷಣಂ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ನಿಜವಾದ ಅರ್ಥದಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರ ಶಬ್ದಗಳು, ನಿಜವಾದ ಅರ್ಥದಲ್ಲಿ ಸೂರ್ಯಗ್ರಹಣ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಹುವಿನಿಂದ ಸೂರ್ಯ ನುಂಗಲು ಪಡೆದಿದ್ರೂ ಸಹ, ರಾಹುವಿನಿಂದ ಸೂರ್ಯ ಗ್ರಸ್ತನಾಗದಿದ್ರೂ ಸಹ, ಮುಚ್ಚಿ ಹೋಗದಿದ್ರೂ ಸಹ, ಆತ ಮುಚ್ಚಿ ಹೋದಂತೆ ಗ್ರಸ್ತನಾದಂತೆ ತೋರುವುದರಿಂದ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಜನರು ನಿಜ ಸ್ಥಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಅರಿದೇ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಸೂರ್ಯನು ಗ್ರಸ್ತನಾಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ರಾಹು ಸೂರ್ಯನನ್ನ ನುಂಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಗ್ರಹಣ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಭಾವನೆ ಮಾಡುತ್ತಾರೆ. ನಿಜ ಸ್ಥಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಅರಿಯದಂತಹ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಜನರು ಸೂರ್ಯಗ್ರಹಣ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಪ್ಪ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಅಯ್ಯೋ ಸೂರ್ಯನನ್ನ ರಾಹು ನುಂಗುಬಿಟ್ನಲ್ಲ ಕ್ಷಣ ಮಾತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ, ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಸೂರ್ಯ ಮರೆಯಾದ್ನಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಮಾತನಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಯಾಕೆ? ನಿಜ ಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅವರಿಗೆ. ನೋಡಿ ಎಂಥ ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆಚಾರ್ಯರೇ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ನಿಜವಾದ ಅರ್ಥದಲ್ಲಿ ಸೂರ್ಯಗ್ರಹಣದಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಹು ಅನ್ನತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಯಾವುದೇ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಸೂರ್ಯನನ್ನ ನುಂಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ. ಅದು ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ವಾಡಿಕೆ ಸಂಪ್ರದಾಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂಥರ ನಾವು ನಮ್ದೇ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರತೀತಿಯಿಂದ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ರಾಹು ಅನ್ನೋ ದೇವತೆ ಸೂರ್ಯನನ್ನು ನುಂಗುಬಿಟ್ಟ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಭ್ರಾಂತಿ ಅಂತ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರೇ ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಿಜ ಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಜನಗಳಿಗೆ. ಸುಂದರವಾದ ಉದಾಹರಣೆ. So in this example, Acharya, how beautifully he summarizes and explains this example. Tamasagrastavat bhanat agrastopi ravirjanaiः grasta iti uchyate bhrantya ajñatva vastu lakshanam. Ajñatva vastu lakshanam. Keywords Acharya says, ajñatva vastu lakshanam. Without knowing the truth, without knowing the reality. People, common people, they think that during the solar eclipse, the devata called Rahu, a demigod called Rahu, actually swallows the sun so that the sunlight is gone for some time. Sun is invisible for some time because Rahu himself completely covers and swallows the sun himself. So sunlight is not visible for some time during solar eclipse. This is what people, without knowing the reality, speak. Even though in reality, the sun, who is a self-shining star, is not at all covered or swallowed by a demigod identified as or thought to be as a Rahu. Acharya himself is telling this. So without knowing the reality, Ajnatva vastu lakshanam. Without knowing the reality, people think that Rahu has captured the sun during solar eclipse. And as a science people, even a common man nowadays, how the solar eclipse occurs, why it occurs. Scientifically, it is well documented. Everyone knows. Acharya, 1200 years before itself, he is talking all this. An example is the reality of the eclipse is different. What people assume is different. They concoct a story. Some demon is there. He is swallowing the sun for some time. And then he gives up the sun, so that when the eclipse is over, the sun will shine once again. So that is the example Acharya is taking. With that example, in the next shloka, he tags on to the Brahmajnani. This example, in the same way he says, similarly, Tadvad dehadi bandhebhyo vimuktam brahma vittamam pashyanti dehavat modha sharirabhasa darshanat. Tadvad dehadi bandhebhyo vimuktam brahma vittamam pashyanti dehivan modha sharirabhasa darshana. ಈ ಮೇಲಿನ ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ತಗೊಂಡು ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಮುಂದಿನ ಈ ಶ್ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಇದೇ ರೀತಿ ಮಹಾಜ್ಞಾನಿ ದೇಹಾದಿ ಸಂಬಂಧಗಳಿಂದ ಮುಕ್ತನಾಗಿದ್ರೂ ಸಹ ತಾನು ದೇಹ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಶರೀರಿ ಅಲ್ಲ, ತಾನು ಶರೀರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಮನಸ್ಸು ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇಂದ್ರಿಯಗಳು ಅಲ್ಲ, ಬುದ್ಧಿಯೂ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ಶರೀರಿಯೂ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಕಾರಣ ಶರೀರವೂ ಅಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲ ದೇಹಾದಿ ಸಂಬಂಧಗಳಿಂದ ಮುಕ್ತನಾಗಿದ್ರೂ ಸಹ ಜ್ಞಾನಿಯು ಆತನಿಗೆ ಶರೀರ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಆತನಿಗೆ ಶರೀರ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಭಾವಿಸ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ ಅಜ್ಞಾನಿಗಳು, ಆತ ಶರೀರದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾನಲ್ಲ. ಆತನ ಶರೀರ ನಮ್ಮ ಹಾಗೆ ಓಡಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ, ಆತನ ಶರೀರ ನಮ್ಮ ಹಾಗೆ ತೋರ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ. ಶರೀರ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಭಾವನೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, ಆತನಿಗೆ ಶರೀರ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, ನಾವು ಆತನನ್ನ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹಾಗೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಇದ್ದಾನೋ ದೇಹದಾರಿಯಾಗಿ, ಹಾಗೆ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನಿಗಳು ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೇವೆ. ತಪ್ಪು ತಿಳುವಳಿಕೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಹಾಗೆ ಅವರು ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಆತ ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಶರೀರಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧವಿಲ್ಲದಿದ್ರೂ ಸಹ ಆತ ಶರೀರದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ಸಶರೀರಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಭಾವಿಸ್ತೇವೆ. So in this example, similarly, by merely seeing the physical body of a jnani, like any one of us, there is no difference. The physical body of a jnani appears like any other human body. He also seems to perform all the functions. So for us, ajnanis, there is no difference. Just like we talk, the jnani also talks. Just like we laugh, he will also laugh. Just like sometimes we are in a melancholic, sorrowful mood, sometimes he also may exhibit sorrow or grief. Sometimes he may laugh, sometimes he may talk coherently, sometimes he may not even talk coherently, sometimes he may remain silent. He will also see, he will also eat, he will also drink, the way we drink the water and other things. The way we eat food, he will also eat food. He cannot remain without food. He will also sleep every day, the way we sleep every day. So jnani also sleeps and he becomes awake every day. He walks, sits, talks, defecates, drinks, everything just like that. So we identify him with this physical body without knowing the truth. What is the truth? Tadvad dehadi bandhebhyo vimuktam brahma vittamam. Even though he is devoid of the body consciousness, even though he is beyond the body consciousness, we think that he is possessing the body, but he is actually free from all the bonds and attachments. No more he is identified with the body himself. But we think that he is possessing the body, so he is the body himself. Just like any one of us, he is also there. See, this is the difference, how we observe and how a jnani looks upon himself, or his own body, and how we look upon the jnani's body, that difference. To make it very clear, Acharya Shankara Bhagavatpada takes one more example. Usually, people in the countryside, village side, where a lot of forestry is there outside the villages. If you are living in such areas, if you are frequent visitors to the forests, then you will understand this example. People born and brought up and ultimately who die in the metropolitan cities, they may not understand this example. Because, this example, what Acharya says, like any other reptile, whether lizard or whatever, the snake, if you observe closely in the natural habitat, the snake regularly, in order to grow in the size during the growth period, after hatching from the egg, the snake has to grow up to the limited level of its own species type. So during growth period, regularly, the outer skin of the snake, what we call, the entire made up of shields, they became totally opaque, and then it is discarded during the molting, as it is called. Outer skin becomes totally dead. It is removed like an outer, peeled off from the body, so that fresh skin is there. The snake comes out of the outer skin called mold, the snake mold as it is called, or the slough, S-L-O-U-G-H, slough it is called, slough. And it comes out, and then further it moves away. And this snake mold remains as a dead surface, dried up skin, thin layer, white layer, in the forest, on the ground, somewhere. It is so thin and light, as the wind blows, this snake mold also moves here and there, here and there. So villagers, they have a common sight of this compared to city dwellers. ಈ ಉದಾಹರಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಆಚಾರ್ಯ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಹಾವಿನ ಪೊರೆಯನ್ನ ಬಿಟ್ಟ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಾವು, ಆ ಪೊರೆ ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಹಾವಿನ ಆಕಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ತೆಳ್ಳಗೆ ನಿತ್ರಾಣವಾಗಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥ, ಜೀವ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಹಾವಿನ ಪೊರೆ ಗಾಳಿ ಬಂದಾಗ ಹೇಗಂತ ಹಾಗೆ ಅದು ಹುರ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಆ ಕಡೆ. ಪೊರೆ ಕಳ್ಚ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಮೇಲೆ ಹಾವು ಬೇರೆ ಆಗೋಯ್ತು, ಪೊರೆ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಬಿದ್ದು ಹೋಯ್ತು. ಪೊರೆಗೂ ಹಾವಿಗೂ ಏನೂ ಸಂಬಂಧ ಇದೆ. ಈ ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅಹಿ ನಿರ್ವಯನೀವ ಅಯಂ ಮುಕ್ತ ದೇಹಸ್ತು ತಿಷ್ಠತಿ ಇತಸ್ತತಶ್ಚ ಚಾಲ್ಯಮಾನೋ ಯತ್ಕಿಂಚಿತ್ ಪ್ರಾಣವಾಯುನಾ. ನಿರ್ವಯನೀ ಅಯಂ ಮುಕ್ತ ದೇಹಸ್ತು ತಿಷ್ಠತಿ ಇತಸ್ತತಃ ಚಾಲ್ಯಮಾನಃ ಯತ್ಕಿಂಚ ಪ್ರಾಣವಾಯುನಾ. ಜೀವನ್ಮುಕ್ತ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನಿ, ಆತನ ದೇಹ ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಹಾವಿನ ಪೊರೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟ ಮೇಲೆ ಆ ಪೊರೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಗಾಳಿನಲ್ಲಿ, ಹಾಗೆ ಜೀವನ್ಮುಕ್ತನ ಶರೀರ ಪ್ರಾಣವಾಯು, ಪ್ರಾಣ ಸಂಚಾರದ ಪ್ರಭಾವದಿಂದ ಅತ್ತ ಇತ್ತ ತಿರುಗುತ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಜೀವನ್ಮುಕ್ತನ ದೇಹ, ಶರೀರ ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆತನಿಗೂ ಶರೀರಕ್ಕೂ ಸಂಬಂಧ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಹಾವಿನ ಕಳಚಿದ ಹಾವಿನ ಪೊರೆಯಂತೆ ಜೀವನ್ಮುಕ್ತನ ದೇಹ ಅತ್ತತ್ತ ಇತ್ತತ್ತ ತಿರುಗಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ವಸ್ತುತಃ ಆತನಿಗೂ ಆತನ ಶರೀರಕ್ಕೂ ಸಂಬಂಧವೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಪ್ರಾಣವಾಯು ಇರೋ ತನಕ ಈ ದೇಹ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಪ್ರಾಣವಾಯುವ ಸಂಚಾರದ ಪ್ರಭಾವದಿಂದ ಜೀವನ್ಮುಕ್ತನ ದೇಹ ಅತ್ತಿತ್ತ ತಿರುಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಹಾವಿನ ಪೊರೆಯಂತೆ, ಕಳಚಿದ ಹಾವಿನ ಪೊರೆಯಂತೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಆಚಾರ್ಯ. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ahi nirvalvayani iva, example Acharya is giving. Just like the mold of the snake skin, the slough of the snake skin, the mold of the snake skin, which is discarded by the serpent, this dead, lifeless snake skin discarded, it moves here and there by the wind force in the forest area, on the ground. Though it is lifeless, it moves here and there by the wind force. It is lifeless. Same way, in the same way, due to the prana sanchara, the vital breath, the effect of the vital breath, due to prana sanchara in the body, the physical body of a jnani, Mahatman, liberated person, moves here and there due to prana sanchara. As long as prarabdha is there, the body will survive. Once the prarabdha ends, the body will go away. So till that period, the body will move here and there. That means Acharya is telling, Jnani is unconcerned about his own body. He doesn't identify. He is no more attached to his own body. This is very difficult to understand for all of us, because since we are steeped in our sharirabhimana, I mean so and so, I mean so and so, I am so and so, my name is so and so. I am a man, I am a woman, I am an old man, old woman, I am a young fellow, I am a celebrity, etc. I belong to this class, I belong to that class, I belong to this class. So status is there, gender identification is there, our age identification is there, our qualification is there, our financial, everything is there. So we, morning to evening, throughout in the waking world, from birth to death, we have identified ourselves with our own body. All normal people. That means non-liberated, non-realized. However intelligent we are, however rich, super rich we are, we have identified ourselves with our own body. I am so and so. With this identification, for us it is difficult to understand how a jnani looks upon his own physical body. Very difficult. You cannot comprehend. You cannot understand. You think that you are understanding. No, it is not possible, because until that stage is reached, until that stage of sakshatkara occurs, until that stage of dawn of reality appears like a flash, this is difficult to understand. How a jnani looks upon his own body. He treats his own body as a discarded snake skin, lifeless snake skin. Just like the snake discards its own outer skin and moves away, no way connected with its dead skin, not even a single iota of affection the snake has got over its own dead skin, removed from its own body. Similarly, jnani, living in his own body, walking, sitting, talking, laughing, giving upadesha, doing all karmas like any other person, appears to be limited to his own body. Parichin appears to be limited to his own body. But still he is aparichin, sarvagaha, with sarvatma bhava. No more he identifies his own body as his own body. How to understand this? I leave it to good senses of our Guru Bandhus to understand all this. This is the example Acharya is giving. Then he takes up another example, Acharya, next shloka. ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಮುಂದಿನ ಶ್ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು. ಈ ವಿಷಯ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮನದಟ್ಟಾಗಲಿ ಅಂತ. ಶ್ರೋತಸಾ ನಿಯತೆ ದಾರು ಯಥಾ ನಿಮ್ನೋನ್ನತ ಸ್ಥಲಂ ದೈವೇನ ನೀಯತೆ ದೇಹೋ ಯಥಾ ಕಾಲೋಪಭುಕ್ತಿಷು. ಶ್ರೋತಸಾ ನೀಯತೆ ದಾರು ಯಥಾ ನಿಮ್ನೋನ್ನತ ಸ್ಥಲಂ ದೈವೇನ ನೀಯತೆ ದೇಹೋ ಯಥಾ ಕಾಲೋಪಭುಕ್ತಿಷು. ಯಥಾ ಕಾಲ ಉಪಭುಕ್ತಿಷು. ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಒಂದು ಹರಿತಾ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ನೀರಿನ ಪ್ರವಾಹದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಮರದ ತುಂಡು ಬಿದ್ದಿದ್ರೆ, ಒಣಗಿದ ಮರದ ತುಂಡು ನೀರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿದ್ದಿದ್ರೆ, ಆ ನೀರಿನ ಪ್ರವಾಹದ ಗತಿಗೆ ಅನುಕೂಲಕರವಾಗಿ ಆ ಮರದ ತುಂಡು ತಾನಾಗಿ ಚಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಮೇಲೆ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಹಿಂದೆ ಮುಂದೆ ನೀರಿನ ಪ್ರವಾಹದ ಗತಿಗೆ ಅನುಗುಣವಾಗಿ ಆ ಮರದ ತುಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ತೇಲ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಜ್ಞಾನಿಯ ಈ ಶರೀರ ಉಂಟಲ್ಲ, ಸ್ಥೂಲ ಶರೀರ, ನಮಗೆ ಕಾಣ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಜ್ಞಾನಿಯ ಶರೀರ ಪ್ರಾಪ್ತವಾದ ಪ್ರಾರಬ್ಧ ಕರ್ಮಗಳ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ತೋರಿದ ಹಾಗೆ ಪ್ರಾರಬ್ಧ ಕರ್ಮಗತಿಗೆ ಅನುಸಾರವಾಗಿ ಅಜ್ಞಾನಿಯ ಶರೀರ ಸುಖ ದುಃಖಗಳನ್ನು ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಜ್ಞಾನಿಗೂ ಅದಕ್ಕೂ ಸಂಬಂಧ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇದ್ರು ಆತನ ಶರೀರ ಸುಖ ದುಃಖಗಳನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾರಬ್ಧ ಕರ್ಮದ ದಸೆಯಿಂದ ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ಸ್ರೋತಸ ನೀಯತೆ ದಾರು. ದಾರು ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಡೆಡ್ ವುಡ್ ಲಾಗ್. ಯಥಾ ನಿಮ್ನೋನ್ನತ ಸ್ಥಳಂ ದೈವೇನ ನೀಯತೆ ದೇಹ ಯಥಾ ಕಾಲ ಉಪಭುಕ್ತಿಷು. Just like a dead wooden log tossed up, fallen in the stream, in the flowing river, flowing stream, it is tossed up and down, left and right, according to the flow of the water. The water flow, the pressure of the water flow will carry the log in different directions. Same way, daivena niyate deha. For a jnani, liberated soul, the body, physical body has come due to prarabdha. This physical body has arrived due to prarabdha. So, because of the prarabdha, body has to face. The body has to face the prarabdha. It has to complete the prarabdha. So, his body will face ups and downs in the life. Jnani is not bothered, he is not connected anymore, but his physical body may face ups and downs in the life due to the prarabdha of the body itself. Due to the prarabdha karma phala of the body itself, the body will behave, it will show ups and downs with reference to events in the life. So jnani is subjected to, from the onlooker point of view, sometimes a difficult situation, fearful situation, a situation for crisis at times, or at times in a delightful situation. He is subjected in the life because of the prarabdha. That is what Acharya says. And he makes it very clear in the next shloka, the same point. ಮುಂದಿನ ಶ್ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ 4 ಚರಣ ಇದನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೆ ವಿಸ್ತಾರವಾಗಿ ಇದೇ ವಿಷಯವನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಆಚಾರ್ಯ ಜ್ಞಾನಿಯ ಬಗ್ಗೆ. ಪ್ರಾರಬ್ಧ ಕರ್ಮ ಪರಿಕಲ್ಪಿತ ವಾಸನಾಭಿಃ ಸಂಸಾರೀವತ್ ಚರತಿ ಭೋಕ್ತಿಷು ಮುಕ್ತದೇಹಃ. ಪ್ರಾರಬ್ಧ ಕರ್ಮ ಪರಿಕಲ್ಪಿತ ವಾಸನಾಭಿಃ ಸಂಸಾರಿವತ್ ಚರತಿ ಭೋಕ್ತಿಷು ಮುಕ್ತದೇಹಃ. ಸಿದ್ಧ ಸ್ವಯಂ ವಸತಿ ಸಾಕ್ಷಿವದತ್ರ ತೂಷ್ಣೀಂ ಚಕ್ರಸ್ಯ ಮೂಲಮಿವ ಕಲ್ಪ ವಿಕಲ್ಪ ಶೂನ್ಯಃ. ಸಿದ್ಧ ಸ್ವಯಂ ವಸತಿ ಸಾಕ್ಷಿವದತ್ರ ತೂಷ್ಣೀಂ chakrasya moolam iva kalpa vikalpa shunyah. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ? ಪ್ರಾರಬ್ಧ ಕರ್ಮ ಪರಿಕಲ್ಪಿತ ವಾಸನಾಭಿಹಿ ಸಂಸಾರಿವತ್ ಚರತಿ ಮುಕ್ತ ದೇಹ ಭುಕ್ತಿಷು. ಮುಕ್ತ ದೇಹ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಜ್ಞಾನಿಯು ಆತ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನವನ್ನು ಸಾಕ್ಷಾತ್ಕಾರವನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಜೀವನ್ಮುಕ್ತನು ಮುಕ್ತ ದೇಹ. ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನಿಯು ಈ ಜನ್ಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಶರೀರ ಹುಟ್ಟಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅನುಗುಣವಾದ ಪ್ರಾರಬ್ಧ ಕರ್ಮಗಳಿಂದ ಕಲ್ಪಿತವಾದ ಸಂಸ್ಕಾರಗಳಿಂದ ಸಂಸಾರಿಯ ಹಾಗೆ ಇತರೆ ಜನಗಳ ಹಾಗೆ ಆತ ಸುಖ ಭೋಗಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಸಂಚಾರ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ. ಈತನ ಶರೀರ ಪ್ರಾರಬ್ಧದಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಜ್ಞಾನಿಯ ಶರೀರ ಸಂಸಾರದ ಸುಖ ಭೋಗಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅನುಭವಿಸುವ ಹಾಗೆ ಕಾಣುತ್ತದೆ. ಸಂಸಾರಿಯಂತೆ ಜ್ಞಾನಿಯೂ ಸಹ ಸಂಸಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋ ಹಾಗೆ ಕಾಣುತ್ತದೆ. ಯಾಕೆ? ಪ್ರಾರಬ್ಧದ ದೆಸೆಯಿಂದ, ಪ್ರಾರಬ್ಧ ಕರ್ಮಗಳ ದೆಸೆಯಿಂದ ಜ್ಞಾನಿಯೂ ಸಹ ಸಂಸಾರಿಯ ಹಾಗೆ ಕಾಣ್ತಾನೆ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ. ಸಂಸಾರಿಯ ರೀತಿ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ತನ್ನ ಉಪಭೋಗಗಳನ್ನ ಪಡೀತಾನೆ ಪ್ರಾರಬ್ಧ ಕರ್ಮಕ್ಕೆ ಅನುಸಾರವಾಗಿ. So the first two lines, what it says, ಪ್ರಾರಬ್ಧ ಕರ್ಮ ಪರಿಕಲ್ಪಿತ ವಾಸನಾಭಿಹಿ ಸಂಸಾರಿವತ್ ಚರತಿ ಭುಕ್ತಿಷು ಮುಕ್ತ ದೇಹ. ಮುಕ್ತ ದೇಹ here Acharya means Brahmajnani, an Atmajnani, a realized one. So even a jnani, a liberated soul, while still living in the body, he has realized his true identity. He has become mukta. He is a jivan mukta. So such a jnani in this world behaves, lives like a samsari, Acharya says. Samsarivat charati mukta deha bhuktishu. Samsari, what means? Like a samsari means like a common householder, like a common man. A jnani also lives in this world, behaves in this world. Due to the prarabdha of the body, the jnani also appears to experience pain and pleasure like any other householder, like any other common man. That's what Acharya says. Very pertinent point to remember. For us, it looks jnani is living like us only, behaving like us only. He is also suffering, experiencing pain at times due to diseases, due to old age, due to any other thing, due to a minor crisis of health, whatever it is. Sometimes he is suffering, lot of pain, like us. Sometimes he is enjoying, joyful, pleasurable experience. He experiences pleasurable things appear in front of him. With pomp and glory, devotees come, disciples come and shower him with all pleasantries. So it also happens. So both he is subjected to pain and pleasure like a common householder, like us and like you. Even jnani also means it looks like that. So it gives an impression to us that jnani is also like us only. He is also a human body. I am also a human body. He is also suffering, experiencing some crisis. I also experience crisis. Sometimes he experiences joy and pleasure. I also experience. So what difference? No difference. That's how we. So from our point of view, jnani also experiences pain and pleasure in life. But next two lines, Acharya makes it very clear. Siddha swayam vasati sakshivadatra toshni chakrasya moolam iva kalpa vikalpa shunyah. The difference is what Acharya says. A jnani will always remain without identifying himself with the body or with the body afflictions like pain and pleasure. No more. He never identifies himself with the body and the events in the life, the physical events, the material events happening in and around him. He never identifies. He remains always silent. His mind is ever satisfied. He is always blissful. Siddha Swayam Vasati Sakshivat. He remains as a total witness. That is the difference. He never identifies himself with the pain and pleasure, whatever the body faces. Whereas we identify ourselves. So we start weeping all that. We start crying all that. We start cursing our fate all the time. We always say our times are not good. Our times are bad. I'm facing all the problems all the time. I'm worried. I'm worried because the problems are there only for me. Others are enjoying. I'm having surmount full of problems. So I always weep. I always worry. Comparing with the others, I always worry that only I am having all the problems. Jnani is not Acharya. A Jnani, Siddha Swayam Vasati Sakshivada Toshni. Silently he remains as a witness because he is unmoved. He is unaffected whatsoever. The way we are affected by worldly events in our life, day-to-day events in our life, day-to-day happenings in our life, he is not at all affected because he never identifies. He remains totally indifferent to the events happening in his own lifespan. Whatever is happening is no way connected, no way affected, no way he identifies himself. He remains totally indifferent as a pure witness. Siddha Swayam Vasati Sakshivat Atra Tushnim, always silent. His mind is ever satisfied, always full of bliss. So there is no question of coming down from that level and behaving and weeping and crying and worrying like any other common man. Jnani will never worry. Jnani will never worry, never will cry. Never he gets stressed up like us. Whatever happens, he remains as a pure witness. That is what Acharya is telling. All jnanis are like. What is the nature of a jnani? Siddha Swayam Vasita Sakshivadatra Toshni. Totally silent. Sakshivat, he remains as a witness. And he gives Acharya example, next, last, fourth line. Chakrasya moolam iva kalpa vikalpa shunya. Jnani is like Chakrasya moolam iva kalpa vikalpa shunya. Jnani ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೂ ಅಂಟಿಕೊಳ್ಳದೆ ಎಲ್ಲಕ್ಕೂ ಅತೀತನಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಂಬಂಧಗಳಿಗೂ ಸಾಂಸಾರಿಕ ಬಂಧನಗಳಿಗೂ ಅತೀತನಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಭಾವನೆಗಳಿಗೂ ಅತೀತನಾಗಿ ನೋವು ನಲಿವು ಸಂಕಟ ಇತ್ಯಾದಿ 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 ಭಾವನೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಅತೀತನಾಗಿ ಜ್ಞಾನಿ ಹೇಗಿರ್ತಾನೆ? ಸಾಕ್ಷೀಭೂತನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಸಾಕ್ಷಿ ಚೈತನ್ಯನಾಗಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ. ಆತನಿಗೆ ಯಾವುದೂ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಅಂಟಿಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆತನ ಮನಸ್ಸು ಶುದ್ಧ ಸತ್ವ ಮನಸ್ಸಾದ್ರಿಂದ, ಸರ್ವತ್ರ ಸರ್ವ ಸಮಭಾವ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, ಸರ್ವಾತ್ಮ ಭಾವ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದರೂ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನ್ನ ಆತ್ಮವನ್ನೇ ಜ್ಞಾನಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಆತನಿಗೆ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಮನುಷ್ಯರ ಹಾಗೆ ಮನಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಕ್ಲೇಶಗಳು, ಸಂಕಟಗಳು, ಯಾತನೆಗಳು ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆತ ಸಾಕ್ಷಿ ಚೈತನ್ಯನಾಗಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಹೇಗೆ? ಕೊನೆಯ ಚರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಏನು ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಕೊಡುತ್ತಾರೆ? ಚಕ್ರಸ್ಯ ಮೂಲಮಿವ ಕಲ್ಪ ವಿಕಲ್ಪ ಶೂನ್ಯ. ಕುಂಬಾರ ಮಡಿಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಆತ ಚಕ್ರ ತಿರುಗಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ. ಕುಂಬಾರನ ಚಕ್ರ ತಿರುಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದರ ಮೇಲೆ ಜೇಡಿ ಮಣ್ಣಿಟ್ಟು ಮಡಿಕೆ ತಯಾರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಚಕ್ರ ತಿರುಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಚಕ್ರದ ಕೆಳಗಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅಚ್ಚು ಅಂತ ನಾವೇನು ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಕಲ್ಲು, ಅದು ತಟಸ್ಥವಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ತಿರುಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದೇ ಆಧಾರ. ಕುಂಬಾರನ ಚಕ್ರಕ್ಕೆ, ಮಡಿಕೆ ತಯಾರು ಮಾಡೋ ಚಕ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಆಧಾರಪ್ರಾಯವಾಗಿರುವುದೇ ಅಚ್ಚು, ಆ ಕಲ್ಲು ಕೂಟಸ್ಥ. ಅದು ತಿರುಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಚಕ್ರ ತಿರುಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಚಕ್ರ ತಿರುಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಮಡಿಕೆ ತಯಾರಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿರಬಹುದು, ಕೇಳಿರಬಹುದು. ಆದರೆ ಚಕ್ರದ ಕೆಳಗಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಆಧಾರ ಸ್ತಂಭ ಯಾವುದು? ಹಾಸುಕಲ್ಲು, ಅಚ್ಚು. ಅದು ತಿರುಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ಸಾಕ್ಷಿ ಚೈತನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ನಿಂತಲ್ಲೇ ನಿಂತಿದೆ, ಅಲುಗಾಡದೇ ಇದೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಜ್ಞಾನಿ ಆ ರೀತಿ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ, ಅಲುಗಾಡದೇ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ. ಸುತ್ತಲೂ ಎಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿಯ ಪ್ರಾಪಂಚಿಕ ವ್ಯಾಪಾರ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಆತನ ಮನಸ್ಸು ಸಾಕ್ಷೀಭೂತವಾಗಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಇದೇ ಉದಾಹರಣೆ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈನ್, ಆಚಾರ್ಯ ಸೇಸ್, ಚಕ್ರಸ್ಯ ಮೂಲಮಿವ ಕಲ್ಪ ವಿಕಲ್ಪ ಶೂನ್ಯ ಸಿದ್ಧ ಸ್ವಯಂ ವಸತಿ ಸಾಕ್ಷ್ಯವದತ್ರ ತೂಷ್ಣೀಂ ಚಕ್ರಸ್ಯ ಮೂಲಂ ಇವ ಕಲ್ಪ ವಿಕಲ್ಪ ಶೂನ್ಯ. How a mukta deha behaves, he remains chakrasya moolam iva kalpa vikalpa shunya. A jnani remains kalpa vikalpa shunya. Beyond any mental modifications or aspirations or desires or thoughts or doubts, alternatives, without sankalpa, without vikalpa, he remains steadfast, like chakrasya moolam iva. Example, Acharya is a common example. So the potter who makes clay pots, we have seen at least villages, the outer potter wheel is turning constantly. Over that, the clay material is placed, and according to the shape and size, the potter will prepare the clay pots. So the potter wheel is turning all the time. When it slows down, the potter again rotates it by hand so that it picks up the speed. But everyone must have seen, at least heard at least. But below the potter wheel which is turning, which is rotating, the base, the wooden or rocky base below the potter wheel, it's always stagnant. It remains stand still. The wheel is turning, but the base remains always stand still, like a pure witness. And that base is the actual substratum. Without the base, the wheel cannot turn. The wheel needs a base, and the base remains like a witness, pure, unmoving. Like that jnani, he remains unmoved in the worldly affairs. He remains as a Sakshi Chaitanya all the time. So with the Guru Sankalpa, we are closing today at the shloka number 550. Sri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama, Sri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama, Sri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama, Sri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Namo Bhagavate Virajeshwara.
Hari Om, sir. I just cannot help but think how wonderful is the satsang with such Mahatmas. I know you have experienced this, but that comes with grace. As much as I envy, it comes with grace and it has to be earned. May such grace be upon all of us and all the people who are viewing this.
Always. I feel so elated, that let the Guru's grace flow on all, not only the Guru Bandhus, the entire world. Because only those who have seen, experienced Guru's grace know what is the grace actually. For others, it is only an alphabetical word, Grace, that's all. Until you experience internally. This cannot be explained. What is Guru's grace or God's grace? We have heard grace, anugraha. But what is that? What is that anugraha? Dhatu prasad. What is that Dhatu prasad? I I sincerely pray that
It is
every Guru Bandhu, at least our Guru Bandhus who are in the spiritual line, let them experience this grace, this ever-flowing grace of the knowledge radiating and reflecting from inside. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Dhanyavad. Hari Om.